Hello, this is Robert Barr. You know what, being on the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School Board has been challenging. We've had our issues and problems. And of course, we've had the financial issues. We've had issues dealing with THC and also with prayer. And as a school board member, as a leader in this community, there are times where you have to say the hard things, the difficult things, the things that are not popular. And I believe on several occasions I have said the hard things, I've said the difficult things. But please remember this, that I am only one voice and I only have one vote. As a board member over time, this is what I've been hearing. That is disturbing, and I think all of us will feel that way because Winston-Salem Forsyth County School is my community. I mean, I went from first grade all the way to 12th. I've lived on the east side, the south side, now the west side, and of course our family on the north side. But listen to this. Our audit for the 2023-24 school year showed that we were $16 million over budget. I'm not talking about 50,000, I'm not talking about 10,000, I'm not talking about 100,000, but the reality is that we were $16 million over budget. And as a board member, I have a fiduciary responsibility to really look at this in reality. We found out as a board that money was moved from our fund balance without board approval. And from the state auditor, that was one of the things that we were dinged on. And a lot of stuff went on in 23, 24. We now come into 2024, 2025, and here's the scenario that we are facing. At first, we heard that we were $8 million over budget, and therefore we're going to have a rift. Now, I taught school, my wife taught school. When I hear things of that nature, I just don't say, well, that's somebody else's problem. That's my problem. And then it went from $8 million to $13 million. And then it went from $13 million to $16 million. And now I think with the HIL consultants, we are hearing that it is, I think what I'm understanding is not that it's $42 million, but it is at least $42 million. And I just want to, once again, just paint the reality of where we are. I was appointed to represent my community. Now, somewhere, and sometimes, once again, as a leader, you have to say the hard things. This may be popular, it may not be popular. Somewhere in all of this mix, a letter was sent, I believe, on April the 21st from our state auditor saying the district was being investigated. The letter was addressed to the board chair and superintendent, and I assume maybe copied later to the attorney. Okay, I learned about the letter from social media. Let me say this. I confirmed with the state auditor that they are working on an investigation of the system of our finances. Now, the effects of this on our community, and let's just face reality, lay aside politics, lay aside Democrat, Republican, all of those different things, lay aside relationship, lay aside who's friends, who are not friends. But the effects on this community have been devastating. Yeah. Parents, students, teachers, and staff are going to have to carry this through a rift unless there's some type of miracle that comes through. And I believe in miracles. And maybe an increase of taxes, which I want to say, going on record, I oppose. Plus, our teachers, parents, and anyone struggling will feel the effects of that if taxes have to be raised. Now, this is very, very concerning, and I don't know if other board members have heard this or if it's just me. I'm starting to hear from credible sources that our vendors have not been paid. We've never, as a community, been here before. Here's another thing that's kind of going through my mind that I'm wondering about. And once again, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I want to face reality because that's what I was elected for. I'm wondering if we're current on our pension, on our 401k payment, on our unemployment insurance. Is our district current on those things? And I think as a board, we need to be asking those tough questions. I mean, we can kind of, someone used a phrase, I'm not going to use that phrase, but we could be just super, optimistic and positive. But folks, as a community, we've got a lot that we're going to have to deal with. And now, here is the difficult thing that I feel like I have to say. I may be booed. You know what? I don't care. My board members may not speak to me. I don't care. I've tried to discuss this, but anyway, I have to say this in front of our community. And this is tough. This is tough for me. Our CFO was allowed to resign. In reality, he should not have been able to resign. He should be terminated. Mm-hmm. If this was run like a business, that is what would have happened. And this is a hard thing to say, because I appreciate the superintendent's heart. I appreciate the drive and the energy. But as a board member right now, at the point that we're in, I cannot get into my emotions. I cannot get into who I like. I can't get into who I don't like. I have got to face reality for my community. And this is a hard thing. Our CFO was allowed to resign. He should have been terminated. And once again, our superintendent, and I say this with all the respect, our superintendent should not be allowed to retire, but I'm going to say this, I can get booed, but this is the reality, should be terminated because of where we are financially. And people can murmur, they can say whatever they like to say, but folks, if this was run like a business, I think that we would have been here a long time ago. I'm committed to education because of where I come from. I'm committed to education because I know the power and the light in it. And I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to do my utmost to help rebuild our district, our community, and our finances. And that's what I felt like I need to say as a board member. This may be more of a statement, but this has just been something I've been processing and thinking about. And I think I've spoken to everybody on the board individually just about some of my concerns, but I'm going to just kind of go through my list because this is a very difficult place to be in. And I'm concerned right now about making this decision. And the reason why I'm concerned is about the reliability of the financial information that has come to us in the past. You know what, for example, the audit. We were $16 million over. Now, I do have some questions. The process of reporting between our CFO, superintendent to the board, which I think has been addressed, somewhere something broke, and I'm hoping that it's fixed. I'm not sure that it's fixed, and I just need some clarity on that. Second, clearly where we are financially. You know what? And then there's been several times, I think I have, maybe other board members have asked what is in our fund balance. And I haven't gotten that information yet. Right now, as a board member, my confidence in the stewardship of our finance has been shaken. So, to be honest, I can't vote for the reduction until I am absolutely clear on the others. Now, I'm hoping, but I'm not assured that the information is 100% reliable concerning the reductions because, and this has been difficult to say as a board member, but I was elected to say the difficult things. But I'm not comfortable voting for a reduction because of some of the patterns that I've seen. The article from the Journal entitled "Board Ends Practice of Opening Prayer" really bothered me. It gave the appearance that I voted to end open prayer during closed session. I want to be clear that I did not. Verbal prayer is a core value of mine. My mom would get up every morning and pray aloud for her family, naming each of her boys by name and nephews and grandkids and all of that. It wasn't a moment of silence, and today her words carry me. The discussion, in my opinion, should have never taken place closed doors. It wasn't a lawsuit. It was a threat of a lawsuit. It is the same letter from an atheist organization that other boards received. The organization's mission and core value is to stop any religious expressions in public and perhaps private spaces. Again, the way this was handled gave the appearance that we all were in agreement with this decision, and because there was no open discussion and public vote, the entire process appeared less than transparent to our community. Here are some questions that I have. Why are we responding to this threat now when past boards have not responded? At what point do we fight for our own community core values? My understanding is that this came from one parent when there are thousands who believe the opposite. What about their perspectives? It concerns me that a long-standing practice of Winston-Salem Forsyth County School Boards in the past of praying non-sectarian prayers could be eliminated tonight because of one complaint. This makes us look weak and compliant. Of course, they shroud their complaint under the guise of separation of church and state. As a district, it feels we are starting to tamper with things that could adversely affect our market share, causing our parents to leave our public schools and take advantage of the opportunity scholarships from our state legislators. Parents are starting to feel uneasy about the direction of our choice program. I think some of them have spoken maybe last board meeting. And now we're tampering with a long-standing tradition of open prayer before board meetings. I'm a product of Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. I'm sure some of you guys remember we're on the 4222 plan. I came through that, attended Louisville, Diggs, Griffith Junior High, Anderson, Parkland. My wife and children are products of this community, and it is part of our core value. I don't want our district hurt because we have compromised our core values to take on another that has no long-term investment in our community. So, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Well, thank you. We are now going to move on to our action items. Next, consider approval to adopt a moment of silence at board meetings. Do I have a motion?
And Chair, I also would like to make a substitute motion that we continue our public non-sectarian prayers before board meetings. But you know what? I don't think that's, if we're being honest, I don't think that's the intent of this policy. To me, I think the intent of that policy is to lower our standard for those who are using marijuana, you know? I never thought, because I taught in the school system, I went through, I think, K through 12. My wife taught in the school system. I have other people that's part of family members that taught, that we would ever be here saying that, to me, that we want to lower the standard. And if we have a teacher that we want to hire, he or she tests positive for THC, we're saying that it is okay to go ahead and hire that person. And to me, it looks like we're trying to follow the trend that is occurring in the nation concerning marijuana. And I think if we're not careful, that it's going to affect us in a negative way. And we may all decide that we're going to agree to disagree, but I just have to voice that. To me, this bothers my conscience. Yeah, I know we said that one of the options for buying this is waiting on a grant. Is that correct? What's the time frame for the grant? Because I think what I want to make sure we don't do is just kind of wait and wait. I think we just need to move on this with urgency. Just want to make sure I'm clear that more than we're looking at the audit to come back in our next board meeting or next committee meeting.